Welcome back to Kapow TV. I'm sitting here with CON LAZOS, a dear friend of mine, extraordinary martial artist, runs fusion martial arts in South Melbourne and out in Yarraville, and we're just going to talk and have a general chat about things pertaining to martial arts. Welcome, Con.
Thank you so much, Richard, for letting me come on the show, and it's actually really good that we can actually spread the message about what martial arts is all about.
Well, and that's part of the idea of Kapow TV too, is kind of to educate the masses and everything. There's a lot of misconceptions about martial arts, especially we've had a panel discussing MMA that you were on. You know, people have a certain idea about the brutality of MMA, and again, in association with martial arts, and it's not always the case. But what I want to discuss with you, Con, because again, your history is in Taekwondo, Korean martial art. You're an international competitor, but more importantly, you run a very successful school in fusion, caters to an incredible amount of kids, females, of course, yep, as well as males. So we've got a whole cross section of society, and I'd love to get your ideas on really what it means to run an acceptable martial arts school that has all the protocols and all the, the etiquette in place, of a traditional martial arts school.
Yeah, it's really good. Actually, we start kids from 3 years old. As I said, my oldest person just joined a couple of weeks ago at 70 years old. Obviously, the programs that a 3-year-old has to go into or a 7-year-old has to go into is absolutely a different journey. But at the end of the day, they all want the same thing. They all want to be learning a little bit more confidence, learning a little bit more about how to use the body. They want to keep fit, they want to keep healthy, and the actual martial arts journey is a really attractive thing. You see all these people like on TV, like with all martial art movies, like heaps of movies that you've been in. People are inspired by that kind of thing. They're going, you know what, look at this. That's a person that's a really good athlete, really good posture, can defend himself, can look after his family or can look after his friends. And it's just a really nice thing to get into martial arts. And at the end of the day, like I always say, it's the ultimate wellness solution. You get the whole lot in one go, especially if you've got a great instructor.
And that's the key, isn't it? It's about the level of instruction.
Yeah.
I mean, the art itself is going to be there anyway, whether it's Taekwondo or Karate or Jiu-Jitsu or whatever. It's about the level of instruction and the caring, the nurturing of the instructor that really makes a difference, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, people ask me all the time, well, what do you think about Karate? What do you think about Taekwondo? What do you think about Jiu-Jitsu? I just tell them, don't ask me that question, because at the end of the day, it's martial arts. What you should be asking me is like, what should I be looking for in an instructor? What kind of school should I be going into? Should I be going to a big school? Should I be going to a small school? Should I be going to school out of a church hall? Should I be going to school out of a garage or a really big professional school? These are the kind of things that you should be looking at. At the end of the day, it's the right instructor. You can take the best student, give them the worst instructor, they're not going to get any results. You can get the worst student and the best instructor, and you're going to get rapid results as long as the instructor can motivate the whichever student it is to actually have some down the track pace of training where you're actually looking forward to go, how good can I be in 6 months? How can I be in 2 years? Because at the end of the day, most people do things short term these days. 6 months is like a long time. It's like, wow, you didn't do anything in 6 months. You just sort of like felt it.
Con, with the traditional arts, and as we well know and most out there would know, you have a belt system. You start off as a white belt and you work your levels, and of course, depending on the style, you have different belts.
Yep.
How do you see the importance of that? Why I ask, for people to understand why that's important, of course, it's to develop levels of confidence and to show that you're going on this journey and you're actually achieving something. I remember Billy Thorpe, to Aussies out there, rock and roll legend who is now no longer with us, but I remember when he came to our Zendok High School back in the 70s, and Billy was as big as you could get in rock and roll in those days, and I remember him telling me that when he went in, he's a rock and roll star. He basically, if you were in that world, you couldn't walk anywhere without being recognized. Suddenly he's in school and he says, I've got a white belt on, I'm at the very end of the line. It had nothing to do with the wealth I had or the fame in the rock and roll world. And he said, so I'm on the end of this line. He said, a few months later, suddenly, I've moved up the line. I got a bit of a stripe on my belt, and now there's some other people to the right of me. Yep. And his basic message was he felt it was like being reborn, because he knew that how far he moved up that line and how rapidly depended on him. The instructors were there to guide him and to sort of set him on a course, but it really got down to the work that he's prepared to put into it. So at any stage of his life, he felt he could have done that, and he would have felt like, wow, what a great chance to just motivate myself and really dare to achieve all over again in an area that he wasn't comfortable in, you know, and he felt that was terrific. I think it was.
Well, I have a lot of executive business people. Like, I run a personal training studio and a martial arts center, and I'm like, if you really want to get results for yourself, you have to put yourself in a space where people are better than you. All right, at the end of the day, you're only as good as what your surroundings is. So, like in this case, he was the best, and he's rock and roll. Going into the martial arts, he starts at the bottom of the rank. So what happens there is to go, well, I want to be like that person. Then you start to like make the journey towards that person, and that person's, if you actually tell them, look, I really like the way you do things, can you help me on the journey to get towards you? A good martial artist to go, come along, let me teach you, let me help you out. So I've got a lot of executives that get started in martial arts, and they ask me, can I just do private training? I can afford to pay you private training. I'm like asking them, what is it you really want to get? I just want to learn the moves. Well, the martial arts is not about the moves. You might as well do fitness then. Because at the end of the day, like just doing some moves, it's like doing 10,000 uppercuts, or you can actually learn how to actually do the uppercut in an actual fighting situation, learn strategy and all this and all that. So in an environment where there's people that are better than you, you're going to get growth. And if you do it one-on-one, you're going to get good at technique, but you don't feel that sense of achievement when you're going up. And then, like in my school, no one can get a black belt unless you're helping out people that are starting out. So that's another parent thing. So look where I started, and look how hard it is to teach someone. So then you appreciate your instructor, you appreciate your teaching skills. Sometimes you appreciate your shortfalls as well, and you fix them up while you teach. They say that the teacher is actually the best student because they're teaching themselves about all the other people's mistakes, going, I better not do this, I better not do that, I better not do that. And you stand in a better, you got a better standing.
I think, and what obviously I know about you is what I think is so important for all instructors out there to appreciate is that we have a whole different level of awareness and education in regards sports science.
Yeah.
In the old days when I started, you just did what your instructor told you. You weren't allowed to ask questions. I dare to say a lot of it was because they didn't really know why you did it a particular way.
Mistake of it.
Right, you know, and I know your passion and everything for understanding the body and what's healthy, what's unhealthy in the way of exercise and strengthening core fitness and everything. And I think that should be something every instructor really endeavours to sort of improve their area in, right?
Well, I think that's another reason why we became such good friends, because I appreciated you as an athlete, as well as an actor, as well as a martial artist. You could tell that you were so into the spiritual side of things, you're so into the training, and that rounds you up as a person. So I was like, when I was coming through the things, I looked at some instructors and I was like, you don't look like a martial artist. You just look like someone who's just, you know, just slapped on a gear or slapped on a uniform, and you just like, you know, some basic punches and kicks, and you say you're an instructor. To me, that's not an instructor. To me, a martial artist should be fit, strong, pliable, focused, and be able to like carry that message across to all his students.
And importantly, what you're saying is being a doer.
Yeah, you've got to do.
Not somebody who just theorises. You know, to those out there who know Benny the Jet Urquidez, he's an absolute kickboxing legend.
Amazing.
And Benny's a doer. You know, one of his favourite sayings that I use all the time in seminars, when somebody tries to tell you, well, do this that way, do this technique this way, I stop them now and I use Benny's saying, I say, before you go on, what personal life experience do you have with what you're telling me?
That's amazing.
Well, the book book says or the tape says, no, but what personal life experience. In other words, have you actually pressure tested the technique? Do you know the safety factors, where it's leading to, all those sorts of things? And I think that's a great credo to live by.
In theory, anything can work. I can make anything work, like why, let's just pick a different thing. Well, what is good for you and what is bad for you? I'll just pick the angle and I can make it sound like, it's like that. So the same thing with martial arts. This technique can work perfectly this way, but then someone else teaches it in a totally different way. Well, that's got a different value as well. So when someone challenges you, go, look, like I used to get this from a lot of karate people. It's like, well,
like me.
Yeah, it's like this young man called Richard Norton, and it was like, well,
Taekwondo's pretty, but anyway,
it's pretty good. And it was like, well, head kicks don't work, and it's like, well, what experience have you had in doing that? Have you done all the training? Have you done the stretching? Have you done the strength and conditioning? Have you done the plyometrics? Have you failed a million times to trying to get this kick to someone's head? Then, at the end of the day, have you read different people?
And importantly, have you ever been kicked in the head by somebody who knows how to do it?
That's right.
That'll make you a believer right there.
Well, that sometimes people have had to be taught the hard way. But originally, people didn't believe that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was going to do anything. It's like, I was going to get on top and punch this guy. And look what happened in the original UFCs. Some young guy who was smaller than everyone else proved that it doesn't matter if you punch me in the head, I'm still going to get you to finish. So unless you have felt that, I'm sure all those guys in the original UFCs now believe that, wow, grappling is good. And look at it, how many years later? When was the first UFC? 93? And what is it, 2012 now?
Yeah.
20
huge.
years later, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu works, but it took someone to go and prove the system that it really works really well. And before that, someone else had proven the system in wrestling, karate, boxing, savate kickboxing, whatever it is, someone was out there proving that their system really works. Things got designed at the end of the day because they needed to be designed. Taekwondo was designed because they want go, you know what, no one's actually that good with legs, so let's make a system for legs. It's really the same thing as boxing, but with the legs.
Right. All right, excellent. Thank you, Con. We'll get you back again and chat on a whole variety of topics.
Thank you so much.
Again, everybody, Fusion Martial Arts in Yarraville in South Melbourne. So if you're in the area, open mat, call in and see Con. I'm always there. I love the school. Love Con. So it's great. Yeah. So thanks for coming on to Kapow TV, and tune back in, everybody. We'll go on with some more. Thank you.